Hey, this is Matt with Bradley Siderograph, and in this video, we're going to go over the results from the most recent turn date on March 20th, 2017, which had a long-term power of 100 out of 100. So before we get too far, I wanted to point out that this video does not contain any financial, legal, or other advice, so please consult your own professional advisors to inform your own decisions. Past performance is obviously no guarantee of future success, and any results covered in this video, they might not be typical. So keep in mind that correlation is not causation, and let's get started. So here we have a turn date on March 20th, 2017, and this is a graph of the S&P 500. So we're going to cover 11 securities in this video, including the S&P 500. So you can see the S&P 500 was increasing leading up to this turn date. So let's see what happened actually on the turn date. So we can see that the S&P 500, it was going up pretty significantly since the November election, November 2016 in the United States. And the S&P 500 topped pretty much right around here. And you could say that the turn date on March 20th, 2017, it pretty much took place at the same time that the approximate top started to give out and the S&P 500 started to go down again. So it seems like the turn date worked pretty well for the S&P 500. If we go back to this graph over here, this might look familiar if you saw the previous video, but this just simply shows that a large proportion of the time over the last 10 years, the long-term turn date with a power of 100 out of 100 has led to a turn in the S&P 500. This is no guarantee about what would happen in the future, but I found this to be interesting. So let's get on to the other securities. So we can see here that the VIX overall was going down in the time leading up to the March 20th turn date, and then sure enough, right afterwards, the VIX started to go up pretty significantly. So I found this to be interesting. For the VIX over the last 10 years, a long-term turn date with a power of 100 out of 100 has led to a change in the direction of the VIX as far as going down to going up or vice versa, about 87% of the time, plus or minus 30 days. So that means for the 30 days leading up to the turn date, whatever the VIX was doing, if it was going up or down, in the next 30 days, it tended to do the opposite. And if you include the most recent turn date on March 20th, it actually increases. So that goes up to 88%. Okay, going on to the next security. This is the China-Shanghai Composite Index. We can see that the Composite Index was going up leading up to the turn date, and then afterwards it went down. We can see for silver that it went down leading up until the turn date, and then it went up afterwards. Here for the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, we can see that this one didn't work quite as well as the others. So there are two securities for which it didn't seem to work quite as well. This is the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, and then the other one is the Nifty. So for the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, you can see that depending upon what time frame you looked at, you could say that this either was or was not a successful turn date. So if you're looking over a longer time period, you could say that technically the Hong Kong Stock Exchange probably went down slightly from this time period until the turn date. However, if you have a shorter view, if you're looking more at this time frame, you could say that the Hong Kong Stock Exchange shot up very significantly right before the turn date, and then it went down significantly afterwards. Over here we have some Bitcoins, and you can see once again a situation where the security price went down leading up to the turn date, and then it increased after the turn date. Okay, and then for Italy's stock market, we can see an increase leading up to the turn date, and then after the turn date, the market turned down. And once again, if you look over the longer time periods, such as 29, 30 days, there tends to be a change in trend a good portion of the time. Over here we have crude oil, and you can see that the price of crude oil decreased pretty substantially leading up to the turn date, and then after the turn date, the price of crude oil had gone up. Over here for the DAX, you'll see that it went up leading up to the turn date, and then it went down after the turn date. Over here for the Nifty, so this is the second of the 11 securities that doesn't seem to have worked quite as well. So it did notice a change in trend. So it was a change in trend that was going up, and then after the turn date, the trend pretty much it slowed down and it didn't really go up for a little period of time. So you could say that theoretically, if you went to this time period over here, this might be 27, 28, 29 days, something around there. So you could say that the Nifty was down over that time period. So it was up here and then down here. But overall, this one didn't work quite as well as some of the other securities. Over here, we can see gold. So gold went down leading up to the turn date and then up after the turn date. Over here we have the S&P 500. So you can see an upward trend leading up to the turn date, and then you can see it going down after the turn date. So now that we've covered the previous turn date, let's talk about the next turn date. So it's going to take place on June 21st, 2017, and it has a Bradley Siderograph power of 100 out of 100. So I look forward to seeing how these different securities perform and to see if they change direction around this turn date right here, June 21st, 2017. And before we get too far, I wanted to just reiterate that there's no investment or other types of advice included in this video, and past performance is no guarantee of future results, and results might not be typical. Okay, and in conclusion, the March 20th, 2017 turn date for long terms with a power of 100 out of 100 seemed to work pretty well. It seemed to coincide with turns, otherwise known as changes in the direction of the security price. And then we have an upcoming turn date on June 21st, 2017. And this has a Bradley Siderograph turn date with a power of 100 out of 100. So I hope you found this video to be useful, and for more information, please visit bradleysiderograph.com.